Hello everyone, Mimi here. This video will be about how to have a smooth time while grinding as an Awakening Witch, especially for the new players that just finished their first seasonal character and are looking to start grinding at places like Star's Ends or maybe even higher level areas. If you click into this video, there is a big chance that you are either a relatively new Black Desert player that is interested in playing Witch as your main character, or you are on your way to reroll into Witch. I would like to congratulate you here first, because from what I can see, Witch is somewhere around the top 5 classes in both PvP and PvE. Not the best, but fairly high ranked on both worlds. Anyways, I've made several guide videos on Witch already, but it seems like I haven't done a video on Awakening Witch PVE yet. And I've received a few requests over the past few months, so I finally decided to make this video. Originally, I didn't want to make this video because compared to Succession Witch, Awakening Witch PVE has far fewer things to talk about. However, after I did some testing, I was pleasantly surprised that you can essentially grind Star's End with 100% free gear now. I know they buffed PvE damage for Awakening Witch, but I've never really tested it out until now. So let's have a look at all the tests that I've done before I reach this conclusion. First, I used my second Witch I've made from one of the seasons because this character has 1200 skill points, which looks more like what a new player would get after they've completed their season character. Now, I gave her a Pride Black Star staff and a Pen Kudum dagger first, and the rest of the gears are either Oasis gear or Pen Tuvala equivalent free gears. Then I head over to Mirrormark first, aka the trees, because my AP is 243 and Mirrormark is a 240 AP zone. Plus, it is a fairly popular grinding spot, so it sounds like a good starting point. It turns out that I was completely melting everything as if I'm using my main witch to grind here. And that gave me enough confidence to head over to Star's End, which is a 260 AP zone. So using the same gears, I was able to clear Star's End without much problems. Comparing to my low AP Succession Witch video, I'd say this is either the same speed or faster. So I swap out the Pen Kudum and the Pride Black Star, leaving me with 100% free gears to do the test again. And the result is, it's slower, obviously, but it's not too bad. At least, it's still doable. But since I'm comparing this with my Succession video, I'm gonna use the Pen Kudum version to keep things as consistent as possible. Now, this is the gear I use for Succession, with Tri Black Star and Ted Kudum. And this is what the Awakening version have, with Pride Black Star and Pen Kudum. The Succession version is a little more geared, having a bit more monster AP and sheet AP. Remember, you're looking at main hand AP for Succession and Awakening AP for Awakening. But overall, they should still be on the same level. And here is a side-by-side comparison of both versions clearing one crystal camp in Star's End. As you can see, they're around the same speed. So I'd say they're on the same level when it comes to using low AP to clear Star's End, provided you know what you're doing. But I think the Awakening is better, because the Awakening skills are overall more protected and requires less key inputs to function, aka requires less brain power to grind. So the next question is, what do you have to do to pull this off? Well, first you need buffs, and there are 5 of them. Church buffs, Villa buff, Food buff, Elixir buff, and Drought buff. For Church buff, you don't need to always get the highest roll because it is probably the least important buff out of the 5. And then you get the Body Enhance from the Villa. Simple Chrome Meal for the plus 30 monster AP, Perfume of Courage for plus 20 AP, and Frenzy Drought for another plus 30 to monster AP, and also some crit damage. These are probably considered as basics for veteran player, but I still want to mention it here because I know for a lot of new players, often they overlook the power of these buffs provide. Anyways, next up is the skills and add-ons. Awakening Witch has a fairly simple skill selection when it comes to PvE. and that is choose Core Visual Wave and max everything else that is on the Awakening tab. And yes, you will be using all of them. You want to pick Core Visual Wave because Visual Wave has a very low cooldown, so giving it a frontal guard means you now have a spammable frontal guard that does damage. On your pre-awakening tab, you want to max Healing Lighthouse, Magic Lighthouse, Sage's Memory, Speed Spell, and Ultimate Teleports. If you are not confident you can safely stay alive, you can also get the Magic Shield as well. Then max everything in the passive tab. For skill enhancement, you only need to get Sage's Light to have your third and most powerful heal. As for skill add-ons, this is what I use for the test. The goal here is to maximize the uptime of all the buffs and debuffs. That's your monster AP, cast speed, critical rate, crit damage, and reduce enemy DP. I personally find this version does a fairly good job of keeping the buffs up in practice. But you don't have to fully copy mine, you can change them around based on your playstyle. Finally, the skill rotations. There are no particular skill order that makes a big difference in terms of dealing more DPS. The only thing to be aware of in PvE is not to have any DPS downtimes. If you are new to Witch, you might find a few gaps when all of your damage skills are on cooldown, and that's the thing you're trying to avoid. The easiest way to do that is to use Visual Wave in between your other skills. For example, Voltaic Pulse, Visual Wave, Thunderstorm, Visual Wave, Yoke of Ordeal, Visual Wave, and so on. This pretty much guarantees you to always have a skill to use. And because we took the Visual Wave core skill, we're pretty much 100% protected, meaning we'll always be either in a frontal guard or super armor. Once you are familiar with this rotation, you can switch to a higher DPS rotation, and that is Voltaic Pulse, Thunderstorm, Visual Wave, Yoke of Ordeal, Visual Wave, Equilibrium Break, Lightning Blast, Visual Wave. Rinse and repeat. This is basically grouping two skills together and having Visual Wave in between because Visual Wave is a relatively low damaging skill, so you want to reduce the frequency of using it. Yoke of Ordeal has long animation time, that's why it is by itself. And we put Equilibrium Break and Lightning Blast at the end because they deal less DPS compared to the first three skills. Basically, you want to try to follow the second rotation, and the first rotation is to help you learn the second rotation, so that even if there are some disruption in combat, your muscle memory will help you execute roughly the right things. And this is just a rough guide for what you want to aim for, to always have a skill to use. If something else works better for you, you stick with that instead, since everyone has different playstyles. One more thing to note here is that you should always try to slide to a side when you are about to get hit, or simply do it frequently in between your combos. If you time it right, the enemy will damage the ground that you were at while you are already somewhere else ready to do damage. This is particularly important if you are grinding at places which has mobs that will CC you, for example the Mirmark Ruins and the Tauros. And that's about it for Witch Awakening PvE. I personally think it is one of the easier classes to learn and grind with. There are a lot of room for error, and you have 3 heals, so you don't really need to buy any pots if you know how to manage them properly. I started the game with Witch because of the sustain she has for grinding, since not having to buy pots for grinding means you can pick up more loot before you leave the rotation. Anyways, that's it for today. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.